The Zaltharian ships looked like silver flowers floating in space. Their smooth curves and gentle lights made them appear peaceful and beautiful. Inside the largest ship, Commander Zexhai studied the reports from the new planet they had found. The planet was called Earth by its inhabitants. "Another world full of plant-eaters," Zexhai said to his assistant. "Look at these creatures. They walk on two legs like us, but see how small their teeth are. And their eyes face forward, but that must be for seeing fruit in trees." The assistant nodded. For 300 years, the Zaltharian Confederation had found many worlds with intelligent life. They had learned to tell the difference between dangerous predators and safe plant-eating species just by looking at them. The creatures from Earth looked harmless. "They call themselves humans," Zexhai continued. "Their leader wants to meet us. They seem very friendly, just like all plant-eaters." Far away from the alien ships, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty. He was a tall man with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. As commander of Earth's first mission to meet aliens, he felt both excited and nervous. "Are you ready for this, Jake?" asked Amy Rodriguez, walking up beside him. She was the team's expert on alien cultures, though she had never actually met any aliens before today. Her job was to make sure humans and aliens could understand each other. "As ready as anyone can be for meeting beings from another world," Jake replied. "What do you think they'll be like?" Amy looked out at the alien ships through the window. The messages they sent were very polite. They seemed to think we're some kind of peaceful species. They kept talking about showing us their prey world gardens and safe species colonies. Dr. Kevin Walsh joined them at the window. He was a scientist who studied animals and how they lived. "That's interesting," he said. "It sounds like they organize species by whether they hunt or get hunted." Jake nodded. "Well, we'll find out soon enough. Are the men ready?" "Everyone's prepared," Amy said. "Though I'm not sure what they expect from us." An hour later, Jake and his team stepped aboard the Zaltharian ship. The aliens were about the same size as humans, but with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. They moved gracefully, like dancers, and spoke in soft musical voices. "Welcome, peaceful humans," said Commander Zexhai through a translation device. "We are so happy to meet another species of plant-eaters. It is rare to find intelligent herbivores who can travel between stars." Jake looked confused. "Plant-eaters? I think there might be some mistake." "Oh, no mistake," Zexhai said with what might have been a smile. "We have studied your species. Small teeth, forward eyes for judging distances to fruit, and you live in large groups for protection, classic herbivore signs." Amy and Kevin exchanged glances. This was not what they had expected. The aliens gave them a tour of their ship. Everything was designed to be soft and comfortable. The walls were covered in images of beautiful gardens and peaceful animals. The Zaltharians showed them rooms full of different types of plants and fruits. "This is food storage for long trips," explained one alien. "We grow everything we need, no hunting required." Jake was starting to understand the problem. "Actually," he said carefully, "humans eat both plants and meat." The alien tour guide stopped walking. "Meat? Yes, we eat animals too," Amy said. "In fact, for most of human history, meat was a very important part of our diet." The Zaltharians began making soft clicking sounds to each other. Their silver eyes grew wider. Jake noticed that several of them took small steps backward. "You eat other creatures?" Zexhai asked, his voice higher than before. "Well, yes," Kevin said. "Humans are omnivores. We eat both plants and animals. Though we mostly eat farm animals now, not wild ones." "Farm animals?" another alien asked. "We raise animals specifically for food," Jake explained. "Cows, pigs, chickens, fish." The clicking sounds got louder. More aliens gathered around them, but they all stayed several steps away from the humans. "How do you catch these animals?" Zexhai asked. Kevin tried to explain. "Well, we don't really catch them anymore. We raise them on farms, but our ancestors used to hunt wild animals. They would chase them over long distances until the animals got tired." "Chase them?" The alien's voice was barely a whisper. "Humans. are very good at running for long distances, Amy added, trying to be helpful. Our ancestors could run for hours and hours. Most animals can run faster than humans, but they get tired quickly. Humans just keep running until the animal can't run anymore. The aliens made a sound like wind blowing through leaves. Jake realized they were afraid. "And your teeth," one alien said, pointing at Jake's mouth. "Show us your teeth." Jake opened his mouth and smiled, showing his teeth. The aliens moved back another step. "Those pointed ones," Zexai said. "Those are for tearing meat." "We call them canines," Kevin said. "All humans have them." "All humans," Zexai repeated slowly. "Yes, and our eyes," Amy continued, not realizing how scared the aliens were getting. "They face forward to help us judge distances when we're hunting. It's called binocular vision." An alien at the back of the group made a loud whistling sound and ran away. Then another one left. Soon only Zexai and two other aliens remained with the humans. "I think we should return you to your ship now," Zexai said. His voice was shaking. "Is everything okay?" Jake asked. "Did we say something wrong?" No, Zexai said quickly. "Everything is fine. We just need to date our files about your species." The walk back to the airlock was very quiet. The few aliens they passed in the hallways pressed themselves against the walls when the humans walked by. Jake saw some of them looking at the humans' hands and mouths with obvious fear. At the airlock, Zexai stopped. "Commander Morrison," he said formally, "we welcome Earth to the galactic community. However, we must inform you that your planet will be classified as a predator world." "Predator world?" Amy asked. "Yes, we have protocols for different types of species. Predator worlds require special safety measures." Jake felt confused and a little hurt. "We're not dangerous, we're here in peace." Yes, of course," Zexai said, "but you must understand. In all our years of space travel, we have never met a predator species that became intelligent enough for spaceflight. You are the first. What does that mean for us?" Kevin asked. "It means everything changes," Zexai replied. "Everything?" After the humans left, Zexai rushed to the communication center. He sent urgent messages to every world in the Confederation. "Emergency classification update," he broadcast. "Species designation, human, planet, Earth, new classification, apex predator, repeat, apex predator. All previous assessments are invalid. These creatures are persistence hunters with binocular vision and carnivorous teeth. They chase their prey until it dies from exhaustion. Recommend immediate implementation of predator world protocols." Across the galaxy, the message spread from world to world. On planets full of peaceful plant eaters, the news caused panic. For the first time in centuries, they had found a predator species smart enough to build spaceships, but the Zeltharians had no idea what was coming next. They thought all humans were the same. They had no concept of different human cultures or nations. They did not know that among humans there was one group that had turned predatory behavior into an art form. They had not yet met the Americans. 3 months had passed since the humans were classified as predators. The news had spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every peaceful species was now afraid of Earth, while the predator races looked at humans with new interest. On the Confederation Council Station, alien diplomats from hundreds of worlds gathered to discuss the human problem. The station was huge, built like a giant wheel spinning in space. Different sections were designed for different types of aliens. The prey species had thick walls and many escape routes. The predator species had open spaces and hunting grounds. Commander Zexai stood before the council, his silver eyes dim with worry. "The humans have agreed to follow our predator world rules," he told the gathered aliens. "They will mark their ships clearly. They will not visit prey worlds without permission. They seem to understand our concerns." A tall alien with sharp teeth and red scales spoke up. This was war leader Vexstock from the Krathian Empire, one of the galaxy's most feared predator races. "You are all afraid of nothing," he said with a growling voice. "I have studied these humans. They are small and weak. Their claws are tiny, their teeth are dull. They have no natural armor or poison. What makes them so dangerous? HFY pulled up images on the big screen, their hunting method. They run after their prey for hours without stopping. The prey animal gets tired and dies from exhaustion. It is a very slow and cruel way to hunt. Vexstock laughed, a sound like metal grinding against stone. Krathians kill our prey in seconds with our claws and teeth. These humans are not impressive. But an older alien in the corner spoke up. This was Elder Nimhai, one of the wisest beings in the galaxy. I have read all the reports about humans. There is something different about them. They adapt very quickly to new situations. And they work together in ways we do not understand. Before anyone could respond, an urgent message came through the communication system. Emergency signal from Kepler 442b, the voice announced. Joint military exercise in progress. Confederation forces and human forces working together. The aliens looked at each other with concern. Kepler 442b was a border world where they tested new military tactics. It was the first time humans had been invited to participate in Confederation military exercises on Kepler 442b. Colonel Lisa Parker stood on a hill overlooking the exercise area. She was a small woman with short black hair and sharp green eyes. Behind her, 200 American soldiers waited for orders. They wore simple green uniforms and carried weapons that looked basic compared to alien technology. Next to Lisa stood General Kexron, a Zeltharian military commander. His silver uniform was covered with medals and decorations. Colonel Parker, he said, are your troops ready for the exercise? Yes, sir, Lisa replied. My Marines are looking forward to working with your forces. The exercise was supposed to be simple. 3 groups would move through the forest and capture different objectives. The Zeltharian forces had advanced energy weapons and flying vehicles. The Krathian forces had powerful armor and deadly claws. The Americans had basic projectile weapons and simple equipment. This should be interesting, General Kexron said. We will see how human predators compare to established galactic standards. In the forest, Sergeant Danny Kim led his squad through thick trees and tall grass. Danny was a young man from California with quick eyes and steady hands. His squad moved quietly, each soldier watching a different direction. Contact ahead, whispered Private Tony Lopez, pointing toward a clearing. Krathian patrol? 6 aliens? Heavy armor. Danny studied the enemy through his binoculars. The Krathians were huge, nearly 8 feet tall, with thick scales that could stop most weapons. They moved in a straight line, confident and proud. They're following the path, Danny sighed quietly. Just like the training manual said they would. Lopez, take Martinez and circle left. Johnson, you and Smith go right. Wait for my signal. The Krathians had superior weapons and armor, but they were following predictable patterns. They stayed on the easiest paths and moved in formation. Just like they had been trained, Danny's squad split up and moved through the forest like ghosts. They used the trees and rocks for cover, approaching from 3 different directions. The Krathians never saw them coming. When Danny gave the signal, all 5 Americans opened fire at once. Their simple projectile weapons could not penetrate Krathian armor, but they did not aim for the armor. They aimed for joints, weapon systems, and sensor equipment. The Krathians roared in anger and confusion. Their advanced targeting systems were damaged. Their weapons would not work properly. They tried to charge at the humans, but the Americans had already moved to new positions. What is happening? Growled the Krathian squad leader. Where are they? Danny's voice came from the forest, but they could not see him. Surrender now, and this exercise ends peacefully. Never, roared the Krathian. We are warriors. We do not surrender to weak mammals. But the Americans were not where the Krathians expected them to be. Every time the aliens tried to attack, they found empty forest. The humans seemed to appear and disappear like spirits. 20 minutes later, the Krathian squad was completely surrounded, their equipment disabled, and their leader was forced to surrender. They had never even seen most of the humans who defeated them. Watching from the command post, General Kexron stared at his monitors in shock. How did they do that? He asked. Colonel Lisa smiled. Improvisation, sir. Americans are taught to adapt to changing situations. We don't stick to one plan when it's not working. In another part of the forest, Lieutenant Carlos Martinez was demonstrating this principle. His squad had been given orders to capture a hill, but when they arrived, they found it was heavily defended by Zeltharian forces with energy weapons. Instead of attacking directly, Carlos studied the situation. The Zeltharians had excellent defensive positions, but they were focused on the obvious approach routes. Carlos noticed something else, a small stream that ran behind the hill. "Change of plans," Carlos told his squad. "We're going swimming." The Americans stripped down to their basic uniforms and waded into the cold stream. They moved underwater as much as possible, using breathing equipment they had brought for emergencies. The Zeltharians, who came from a dry planet, never thought to watch the water. Carlos and his squad emerged from the stream directly behind the Zeltharian position. Before the aliens knew what was happening, the Americans had captured their command post and disabled their communications. "Exercise complete," Carlos announced over the radio. "Hill secured." The Zeltharian commander was so surprised he forgot to speak English for several minutes, but the most shocking moment came when Captain Ryan Brooks faced a completely different challenge. His squad's equipment had been deliberately sabotaged as part of the exercise. They were supposed to show how they would handle equipment failure in combat. Most alien forces had backup equipment and standard procedures for every situation. But Americans had something different. They had duct tape and creativity. Ryan's squad was stranded without working radios, vehicles, or most of their weapons. Instead of giving up or calling for help, they went to work, using duct tape, spare wire, and parts from broken equipment. They built new devices that actually worked better than the original alien technology. They turned a damaged vehicle into a mobile communication center. They combined broken weapons to make a working defense system. "This is impossible," said the Zeltharian observer watching them. "They are creating new technology from garbage." "Americans call it jerry-rigging," explained the human liaison officer. "It means making something work with whatever materials you have available." Within 2 hours, Ryan's squad had not only completed their mission but had also created several new pieces of equipment that the Confederation military wanted to study. When the exercise ended, alien commanders from dozen species gathered to discuss what they had seen. The mood was very different from the confident predictions they had made earlier. "These humans do not fight like normal predators," said the Krathian war leader, his pride clearly wounded. "They do not follow standard tactical doctrine. They adapt faster than we can respond," added the Zeltharian general. "Every time we think we understand their strategy, they change it." Elder Nimhai nodded slowly. "I told you there was something different about them. They do not just hunt prey. They hunt solutions to problems." Colonel Lisa stood before the alien commanders, still wearing her dirty combat uniform. "Gentlemen," she said, "what you saw today was just basic American military training. We haven't even shown you our special forces yet." The aliens looked at each other with growing concern. "There's something else you should know," Lisa continued. "The soldiers you fought today were regular Marines. In America, we have different branches of military with different specialties. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and others. Each one trains differently." War leader Vexstock S. Red Scales seemed to lose some of their color. "How many different types of human warriors are there?" Lisa smiled. "Hundreds. And that's just the military. We also have police, hunters, athletes, and civilians who learn self-defense. Most Americans know how to fight, even if it's not their job." The meeting room fell silent. The aliens had thought they were dealing with a single type of human predator. 6 months after the military exercises, the Zeltharian Confederation Council made a decision that would change everything. They needed to understand these strange human predators better. Simply knowing that humans were dangerous was not enough anymore. They needed to study how humans lived, how they thought, and how they organized their society. Dr. Zexthy was chosen for this important mission. He was the Confederation's best sociologist, an expert in studying alien cultures. His job was to Go to Earth and learn about human society from the inside. The council gave him 1 year to prepare a complete report. Remember, Commander Zexhi told him before he left, these are predators. They may seem friendly, but they are always hunting. Be very careful, Dr. Zexhi nodded. He had read all the military reports. He knew humans were dangerous, but he was a scientist, and scientists had to take risks to learn the truth. The human government decided to place Dr. Zexhi with a typical American family in Denver, Colorado. They chose the Johnson family because they seemed normal and average. Pete Johnson worked as an accountant in a downtown office building. His wife Linda was a teacher at the local elementary school. Their daughter Katie was 16 years old and played soccer at her high school. When Dr. Zexhi first met the Johnson family, he was surprised by how normal they seemed. Pete was a medium-sized man with graying hair and kind eyes. Linda was a small woman with a warm smile. Katie was energetic and friendly, like most young humans. "Welcome to our home," Linda said, showing the alien to the guest room. "We're so excited to have you stay with us. This is going to be such a great learning experience for everyone." Dr. Zexhi was confused. These humans showed no signs of predatory behavior. They were polite, helpful, and seemed genuinely happy to meet him. Maybe the military reports were wrong. His first shock came at dinner time. The Johnson family sat around their kitchen table, and Linda brought out the evening meal. Dr. Zexhi expected to see plants and fruits, but instead he saw cooked meat, vegetables, and bread. "This is pot roast," Linda explained, cutting a piece of beef. "It's one of our family favorites. The meat comes from cattle we raise on farms." Dr. Zexhi watched in fascination as the entire family ate the meat without any ceremony or ritual. They talked about their day, laughed at jokes, and discussed plans for the weekend. The fact that they were consuming another creature's flesh seemed completely normal to them. "Do you eat meat every day?" Dr. Zexhi asked. "Most days," Pete replied, cutting another piece, "though sometimes we have fish or chicken instead." "Linda makes great barbecue chicken." "What is barbecue?" Katie laughed. "Oh, you have to try Dad's barbecue. He cooks meat over an open fire outside. It's like controlled burning, but it makes the food taste amazing." Dr. Zexhi made notes in his electronic pad. Human predators cooked their food with fire, and they seemed to enjoy the process. This was not mentioned in any of the military reports. The next morning, Pete went to work at his office downtown. Dr. Zexhi went with him to observe human work behavior. He expected to see aggressive competition and territorial disputes, but instead he found something completely different. Pete's office was full of humans, working together on complex mathematical problems. They shared information freely, helped each other solve difficult questions, and seemed to genuinely care about each other's success. "This is my team," Pete explained, introducing Dr. Zexhi to his coworkers. "We work together to manage the company's finances. Everyone has different skills, so we help each other out." Dr. Zexhi watched as Pete spent his morning helping a younger human understand a complicated tax problem. There was no competition, no fighting, no attempt to dominate. Pete simply shared his knowledge because it helped the team succeed. "But you are predators," Dr. Zexhi said during lunch break. "Predators compete for resources. They fight each other for territory and dominance." Pete looked confused. "Well, yes, we can be competitive, but we're also cooperative. Humans are social creatures. We work better when we help each other." That afternoon, Dr. Zexhi observed something that made him question everything he thought he knew about human predators. Pete left work early to volunteer at an animal shelter. He spent 2 hours feeding stray cats and dogs, cleaning their cages, and helping people adopt pets. "These are animals," Dr. Zexhi said, watching Pete gently pet a small dog. "You could eat them, but instead you care for them." Pete looked shocked. "Eat them? These are pets? We don't eat dogs and cats?" "We keep them as companions. But they are prey animals, small, weak, defenseless. That's exactly why we protect them," Pete said. "They depend on us. It would be wrong to hurt them." Dr. Zexhi's head was spinning. Human predators protected prey animals for no benefit to themselves. This made no sense according to everything science knew about predator behavior. His confusion grew over the next few days. Linda worked at an elementary school teaching human children, but she also volunteered at an animal rescue center on weekends, saving injured wild animals and returning them to nature. "Let me understand this," Dr. Zexty said, watching Linda feed a baby raccoon with a bottle. "You save these animals, heal them, and then release them back into the wild where you will never see them again." "That's right," Linda said, smiling as the raccoon grabbed the bottle with its tiny paws. "They deserve a chance to live free." "But you get nothing from this? No food, no territory, no advantage?" Linda looked at him with surprise. "I get the satisfaction of knowing I helped a creature in need. That's enough." Dr. Zexty made more notes. Human predators had something called compassion that made them help other creatures even when it provided no benefit. This was impossible according to Predator psychology. The biggest shock came when he attended one of Katie's soccer games. Dr. Zexty expected to see young human predators fighting over territory, but instead he saw something magnificent and terrifying. 22 young humans ran across a grass field, chasing a ball with incredible speed and coordination. They moved like a pack of hunters, but they were hunting for points in a game, not for food. They played with an intensity that made Dr. Zexty's silver eyes widen. Katie sprinted down the field, dodging other players with fluid grace. She moved like her ancestors who had chased prey across African plains, but she was chasing a ball for the joy of competition. "She's fast," Dr. Zexty observed. "Katie runs 5 miles every morning before school," Pete said proudly. "She's training. For the state championship, she runs 5 miles every day. For fun? Well, it's training, but yes, she enjoys it. All the kids on the team run long distances. It builds endurance." Dr. Zexty realized he was watching human persistence hunting. Adapted for sport. These young humans were training their bodies to chase prey for miles, but they were doing it voluntarily for entertainment. After the game, the Johnson family went to a local restaurant to celebrate Katie's victory. The restaurant was crowded, with families, all of them eating and talking and laughing together. Dr. Zexty observed their behavior carefully. "I noticed something strange," he said to Pete. "Everyone here is eating meat, but no one seems aggressive or territorial. In most predator species, feeding time is dangerous. Individuals fight over food and dominance." Pete looked around the restaurant. "I guess we've moved past that. We have plenty of food for everyone, so there's no need to fight. But you are still predators. The instincts should still be there." "Maybe they are," Pete said thoughtfully. "But we've learned to channel them into other things. Sports, business competition, video games. We find ways to satisfy our competitive nature without actually hurting each other." Dr. Zexty spent the rest of his visit trying to understand this concept. Humans had taken their predatory instincts and transformed them into something completely different. They competed in sports, in business, in academics, but they had rules and boundaries that prevented real harm. He watched Pete play poker with his friends, betting money on card games with the same intensity his ancestors had used to hunt prey. He watched Linda compete in a cooking contest, trying to make the best apple pie with the same determination her ancestors had used to gather food for survival. He watched Katie and her friends play video games where they hunted virtual monsters and fought virtual battles. They were practicing predatory behavior in a safe environment, satisfying their hunting instincts without any real violence. The most shocking revelation came when he attended a NASCAR race with the Johnson family. 43 human drivers climbed into metal vehicles and raced around a track at speeds that would kill them if they made a mistake. 200,000 humans sat in the stands, cheering as the drivers risked their lives for entertainment. "This is insane," Dr. Zexty whispered, watching cars pass each other at incredible speeds. "They could die." "That's part of the excitement," Pete shouted over the noise of the engines. "The danger makes it more thrilling." Dr. Zexty watched in amazement as humans crashed their vehicles at high speed, walked away from the wreckage, and immediately began planning to race again the next week. They had turned mortal danger into a form of entertainment. "You do this for fun?" Dr. Zexley asked. "Americans love extreme sports," Katie explained. "We jump out of airplanes, climb mountains, surf giant waves, race cars, fight in boxing matches. The more dangerous it is, the more fun it is." The peaceful period of study and observation ended suddenly on a cold Tuesday morning. War Prime Vex Valoom of the hegemony of Krath had grown tired of hearing about human superiority. The Krathians were 8-foot-tall reptilian warriors with steel-hard scales and claws that could cut through metal. They had conquered 17 star systems and had never lost a battle. "Enough of this nonsense," Vex Valoom growled to his war council. "These soft mammals think they are predators? We will show the galaxy what real predators look like." The Krathians chose to attack Harmony Station, a small research colony on the edge of Confederation space. The colony was home to 2,000 civilian researchers from various species, plus a small security force. What Vex Valoom did not know was that 30 American military advisors were stationed there as part of a cultural exchange program. Harmony Station was built on a planet with thick forests and rolling hills. The main research facility was located in a valley, surrounded by smaller outposts and mining operations. It was supposed to be a peaceful place where different species could work together on scientific projects. Staff Sergeant Maria Gonzalez was in the station's cafeteria when the alarms started blaring. She was a small woman from Texas with dark hair and quick brown eyes. Behind her calm expression was the mind of a professional soldier who had served in 3 different combat zones on Earth. "What's the situation?" she asked Lieutenant Scott Adams, who was running toward the security center. "Krathian ships in orbit," Scott replied. 50 vessels, maybe more. They're demanding surrender." Maria felt her heart rate increase, but her voice remained steady. "Where are the other Americans?" "Scattered across the colony. Sergeant Kim is at the mining station. Corporal Brown is at the communications center. The rest are at various research posts." Maria nodded. 30 Americans spread across a large area, facing an unknown number of Krathian warriors. The odds were not good, but Americans had faced bad odds before. The first Krathian shuttles landed near the main facility 20 minutes later. War Prime Vex Valoom himself led the assault, confident that his warriors would crush any resistance in minutes. Each Krathian soldier was armed with plasma weapons and protected by armor that could stop most projectile weapons. "Surrender now?" Vexval's voice boomed across the station's communication system. "Resistance is futile. You face the might of the Krathian hegemony." The station's administrator, a nervous Zaltharian named Pexdai, immediately tried to surrender. But before he could respond, Maria's voice came over the radio. "This is Staff Sergeant Gonzalez, United States Marine Corps. American forces do not surrender. All American personnel implement Plan Delta immediately." Plan Delta was something the Americans had discussed during their first week at the station. It was a simple idea. If the station was ever attacked, the Americans would not try to defend fixed positions. Instead, they would scatter and turn the entire colony into a hunting ground. "What is Plan Delta?" asked Dr. Kexran, a Zaltharian scientist hiding in the research lab. "Something we learned from our ancestors," Maria replied, checking her weapon. "When you can't win a stand-up fight, you don't stand up." The Krathians advanced through the station in standard military formation. They expected to find defenders at barricades and defensive positions. Instead, they found empty corridors and abandoned rooms. "Where are they?" growled Captain Rexith, leading the first squad of warriors. His answer came from above. Sergeant Danny Kim had positioned himself in the station's ventilation system. When the Krathians passed beneath him, he dropped grenades through the ceiling vents. The explosions did not kill the armored warriors, but they damaged their sensors and communication equipment. "Contact above," Rexith roared, firing his plasma weapon at the ceiling. But Danny was already gone, moving through the ventilation tunnels like a ghost. Meanwhile, Corporal Lisa Brown had taken control of the station's industrial section. She was a mechanic from Detroit who understood how machines worked. More importantly, She understood how to make them stop working. When Krathian forces entered the manufacturing area, Lisa triggered a series of mechanical failures she had carefully planned. Heavy machinery began moving in random directions. Conveyor belts started and stopped unpredictably. Chemical storage tanks began leaking dangerous substances. "This place is falling apart," complained one Krathian soldier as he dodged a swinging mechanical arm. "It's not falling apart," Lisa's voice came from hidden speakers. "I'm taking it apart. There's a difference. The Krathians tried to shoot at the speakers, but their plasma weapons only caused more equipment to malfunction." Soon, the entire industrial section was a maze of moving machinery and dangerous chemicals. At the mining station 5 miles away, Sergeant Kevin Walsh faced a different problem. 20 Krathian warriors had surrounded the facility, and he was alone with 6 civilian researchers. The civilians were terrified, but Kevin remained calm. "Listen carefully," he told the researchers. "I'm going to keep those warriors busy. When I give the signal, you run to the emergency shelter and lock the door." "But there are 20 of them and only one of you," said Dr. Yexthi, a Zeltharian geologist. Kevin smiled grimly. "Yes, but they don't know this area like I do." The mining station was built on the edge of an old quarry filled with heavy equipment and deep excavation sites. Kevin had spent weeks exploring every tunnel and cave in the area. He knew exactly where to go. When the Krathians attacked, Kevin seemed to vanish into the landscape. He used the quarry's terrain to his advantage, appearing behind the warriors when they least expected it. His simple projectile weapons could not penetrate their armor, but he did not aim for their bodies. Instead, Kevin targeted their equipment. He shot out their communication devices, damaged their weapons, and destroyed their sensors. Each attack came from a different direction, making the Krathians think they were facing multiple enemies. "Where is he?" roared the Krathian squad leader, spinning in circles as his warriors fired randomly at shadows. "Behind you." Kevin's voice came from a hidden position. The squad leader turned just in time to see his plasma weapon spark and die as Kevin's bullet found its power source, back at the main station. War Prime Vex Valoom was becoming increasingly frustrated. His forces had superior numbers, better weapons, and stronger armor, but they could not find their enemies. The humans seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "Report," he demanded from his field commanders. "Squad 7 is trapped in the industrial section," came one reply. "The humans have turned the machinery against us." "Squad 12 is lost in the maintenance tunnels," reported another commander. "They keep hearing voices but cannot locate the source." "Squad 3 has their equipment damaged," added a third voice. "They are requesting backup." Vex Valoom could not understand what was happening. In every previous battle, the enemy had either surrendered immediately or fought from defensive positions. These humans were doing something completely different. "They are not following proper military protocol," he complained to his aide. The aide, a younger Krathian named Vexmal, looked confused. "What protocol, War Prime?" "The protocol of war. You defend your territory, you protect your resources, you fight from strong positions. These humans are running around like ... "Like hunters?" Vexmal suggested. Vex Valoom paused. He had never thought of it that way. His species had evolved from ambush predators who waited for prey to come to them. But humans had evolved from persistence hunters who chased their prey across vast distances. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The humans were not trying to defend the station. They were hunting his forces. This became clear when Maria Gonzalez put the final part of Plan Delta into action. She had spent the last hour rigging explosives throughout the station's power systems. Not enough to destroy the facility, but enough to turn off all the lights and shut down all the electronic systems when the station went dark. The Krathians found themselves fighting in complete blackness. Their advanced sensors and targeting systems were useless. Their heavy armor made them slow and clumsy in the dark, but humans had evolved to hunt in all conditions. They could track prey by sound, by smell, by the slightest movement in the darkness. Maria and her Marines moved through the blackened station like deadly shadows. "Night vision is broken," reported one Krathian squad leader. Emergency lights are not working, added another. Something is moving in the darkness, whispered a third voice, full of fear. The Krathians began to panic. They fired their weapons blindly, hitting walls and each other. They stumbled through corridors they could not see, making noise that allowed the Americans to track their every movement. "This is impossible," Vexvolum roared into his communicator. "We are Krathian warriors. We do not flee from mammals." But his warriors were fleeing. One by one, they abandoned their positions and retreated toward their landing shuttles. They had faced energy weapons, explosives, and advanced technology before. But they had never faced an enemy that seemed to vanish and reappear at will, that turned their own environment against them, that hunted them in the darkness like ancient nightmares. When the lights came back on 6 hours later, Confederation rescue ships found the Krathian forces huddled in their shuttles, refusing to leave their vehicles. 30 American military advisors had defeated over 300. The defeat of the Krathian hegemony sent shockwaves through every corner of the galaxy. Within a week, emergency sessions were called on hundreds of worlds. Species that had never spoken to each other before suddenly found themselves in urgent communication, all discussing the same terrifying question: what were humans really capable of? On the Confederation Council Station, representatives from over 300 species gathered for the largest assembly in galactic history. The Great Council Chamber, usually filled with routine diplomatic discussions, now buzzed with fear and excitement. Some aliens wanted protection from humans. Others wanted to ally with them. A few brave species wanted to understand them better. Ambassador Helen Chang sat in the center of this chaos, representing Earth and all of humanity. She was a calm woman from San Francisco with gray hair and intelligent eyes. She had spent her career negotiating peace agreements and trade deals, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "The floor recognizes Ambassador Chang," announced. Elder Nimhai, the ancient being who led the council. Helen stood and looked around the massive chamber. Thousands of alien eyes watched her every movement. Some were filled with fear, others with curiosity, and a few with barely controlled anger. "Fellow beings," Helen began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems, "I understand your concerns about humanity. The recent events have surprised us as much as they have surprised you." A loud hissing sound came from the Krathian section. War Prime Vexvolum stood up, his huge reptilian form towering over nearby delegates. "Surprised?" he roared. "Your warriors humiliated the finest military force in the galaxy. They fought like demons, like creatures from nightmares. How can you claim to be surprised?" Helen remained calm. "War Prime Vexvolum, with respect, our people were defending innocent civilians. They used the minimum force necessary to protect lives." "Minimum force?" Vexvol's voice cracked with disbelief. "They turned our own minds against us. They made us afraid of shadows." A small, furry delegate from the Yexathi Republic spoke up in a squeaky voice. "Ambassador Chang, we must know, are all humans as dangerous as these soldiers?" Helen paused. This was the question she had been dreading. How could she explain that the 30 Americans at Harmony Station were just ordinary troops? How could she tell them about Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, or Marine Special Operations without causing a galaxy-wide panic? "The soldiers at Harmony Station represent basic American military training," she said carefully. "They are not our most elite forces." The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens clicked, hissed, chirped, and roared in dozens of different languages. The translation system struggled to keep up with the chaos. "Order!" Elder Nimhai called out. "Ambassador Chang, please explain what you mean by basic training." Helen took a deep breath. "In America, military service is voluntary. Young people choose to join the armed forces, and they receive training in tactics, weapons, and survival. The soldiers you encountered had this standard training, nothing more." Commander Zexhai, who had been quietly listening, stood up. "Ambassador, how many different levels of military training do humans have?" "Several," Helen admitted. "We have regular forces, specialized units, elite teams, and special operations forces. Each level receives more advanced training. The chamber fell silent. Even the quiet breathing sounds of various species seemed to stop. How much more advanced? Asked a delegate from the Nexus Collective. Before Helen could answer, General Robert Hayes entered the chamber. He was a tall man with silver hair and the bearing of someone who had spent 40 years in the American military. He wore a simple dress uniform with ribbons that meant nothing to the aliens but told other humans about battles fought on distant worlds. "If I may, Ambassador Chang," General Hayes said, approaching the speaker's platform, "perhaps I can provide some context." Helen nodded, grateful for the support but worried about what Robert might say. General Hayes looked around the chamber with the same calm expression he had worn in 100 different battlefields. "Honored delegates, my name is General Robert Hayes, United States Army. I have been asked to explain American military capabilities to this assembly." A Zeltharian delegate raised a tentacle. General Hayes, the soldiers at Harmony Station defeated. "Superior numbers with superior technology. How is this possible?" "As training," Robert replied simply. "American soldiers are taught to think, not just follow orders. They learn to adapt to changing situations and use whatever resources are available." "But surely this is the highest level of training?" asked another delegate. Robert shook his head. "No, those were regular soldiers, what we call conventional forces. They receive about 6 months of basic training, followed by specialized instruction in their military occupation." 6 months? War Prime Dex Volume seemed shocked. "Krathian warriors train for 5 years before they see combat." "Different philosophy," Robert explained. "We believe in teaching principles and letting soldiers apply them creatively. Krathian training teaches specific responses to specific situations. American training teaches problem solving." A brave delegate from the Hirani Federation asked the question everyone was thinking. "General Hayes, what would happen if we faced your elite soldiers instead of your regular forces?" Robert was quiet for a long moment. "You don't want to find out." "But we need to know," Elder Nimhai insisted. "The safety of the galaxy may depend on understanding human military capabilities," Robert sighed. "Very well. Our special operations forces train for years in techniques that regular soldiers never learn. They specialize in missions that other military units cannot attempt. They operate behind enemy lines in hostile environments against impossible odds." "Give us an example," demanded Dex Volume. "Navy SEALs can approach a target underwater, neutralize guards silently, complete their mission, and escape without anyone knowing they were there," Robert said. "Army Rangers can jump from aircraft at night, land in enemy territory, and fight their way to objectives that larger forces cannot reach." The chamber was completely silent now. "Delta Force operators can infiltrate the most secure facilities in the galaxy and accomplish missions that seem impossible," Robert continued. "These are not just soldiers. They are specialists who have trained their entire adult lives for warfare." A Zeltharian scientist named Dr. Pexron stood up. "General Hayes, we have studied your species for over a year. We have learned about your culture, your history, your behavior, but we still do not understand how you became so effective at warfare." Robert smiled grimly. "Doctor, Americans did not become good at warfare by accident. Our entire history is a story of people facing impossible challenges and finding ways to overcome them." He activated a holographic display that showed images from American history. "Our ancestors crossed an ocean to reach an unknown continent. They fought a war for independence against the world's most powerful empire. They explored and settled a vast wilderness. They fought each other in a civil war that nearly destroyed the nation, then rebuilt it stronger than before." The images changed, showing more recent events. "Americans stormed beaches in World War II knowing most would die. We went to the moon because someone said it was impossible. We have always been a nation of people who refuse to accept that something cannot be done." A young delegate from the Korathi Republic asked, "But why? Why do you seek such challenges?" Robert thought about the question. "Because challenges make us stronger. Americans believe that comfort leads to weakness, and weakness leads to failure. We practice being uncomfortable so that when real danger comes, we are ready." "You train by making things difficult on purpose?" asked Dr. Pexron. Exactly. American. Military training is designed to be harder than actual combat. Our soldiers run until they cannot run anymore, then run some more. They practice fighting when they are tired, hungry, cold, and afraid. They learn to succeed when success seems impossible. The alien delegates looked at each other with growing understanding and fear. Captain Tony Rodriguez, a Navy pilot, stepped forward. If I may add something, General? These delegates should know that military training is just one aspect of American culture. Civilian Americans also practice overcoming challenges. What do you mean? Asked Elder Nimhai. Americans climb mountains that no one has climbed before, Tony explained. We race cars at speeds that can kill us. We start businesses that experts say will fail. We compete in sports where only one person can win, but everyone keeps trying anyway. Helen Chang took control of the discussion again. What Captain Rodriguez is saying is that Americans have turned challenge-seeking into a cultural value. We do not just accept difficult situations. We actively seek them out. This is insane, muttered a delegate from the Peaceful Worlds Alliance. Perhaps, Helen agreed. But it has made us very good at solving problems that other species consider impossible. Elder Nimhai stood up, his ancient form radiating authority. Ambassador Xiang, General Hayes, this council must now make important decisions about humanity's role in galactic affairs. We have learned that humans are not just another predator species. You are predators who have weaponized adaptation itself. What does that mean for us? Asked a nervous Selfarian. It means, Elder Nimhai said slowly, that the galaxy has entered a new age. For millions of years, species have been classified as predators or prey.